So now I think we will make a start, and I'm delighted to welcome everybody today to this webinar. My name is John Blythe. I'm Marketing and Communications Manager for Ricoh Europe's Graphic Communications Division. And today's webinar is entitled Deliver More Revenue Opportunities by Unlocking the 5 Stages of Your Print Production. This webinar today is the first in a series of 3 that Ricoh Europe is hosting as part of our Unravel Your Print Workflow series. Now, workflow is an incredibly important topic. When done right, workflow can be a key business differentiator that automates processes to improve productivity and profitability. However, it can be complex and complicated, causing headaches every day for all types of print-based businesses. And this is why we decided it is time to unravel your print workflow. Today, we're going to be looking at the full print ecosystem, comprising 5 main stages, and exploring with our experts a number of key issues that affect everybody who is operating a print workflow. The next 2 live webinars in our series will look in more detail into how you can extract benefits from the individual stages of the workflow process. So, for today's agenda, we're going to begin with a short overview of the 5 stages of the print ecosystem and the importance of a smooth handoff. And that's going to be presented by my global colleague, Linnea Wolken. Then our 2 independent print experts, Ralf Schlutzer and Geert Fransen, will take a look at the European print workflow market, drawing on some recent research which illuminates the subject. I think things are really going to take off then with a panel discussion in which our panelists will tackle some provocative questions and share their professional opinions. Let's see if they all agree. And after that, there'll be a short run through of some of Ricoh's relevant solutions before we wrap up. Please submit questions anytime during this event. We're not planning to answer them during this webinar for time reasons, but we will get back to you shortly afterwards. And the session overall should run for about 45 minutes. So let's take a look at our panelists. Linnea, you can see on the left, is Ricoh's Global Marketing, Alliances and Operations Director, responsible for software and solutions, and she brings a wealth of strategic insight and senior experience to our panel. Geert Fransen is a well-known authority on workflow in Europe. He is the Managing Director of MyIT. Jürgen Krebs is a core part of the senior Ricoh Europe team. He's been responsible for some major and very successful software installations in many countries in Europe, which have unlocked significant cost and productivity benefits for his clients, and has got something like 20 years experience in the production printing solutions market. And last but not in any way least, many of you will know Ralf Schlutzer, or at least have read some of his reports that have been measuring and analyzing the print production market for many years. He's one of the most sought after names in the industry, and we're delighted to have him join us today. So that's our diverse expert panel. I'd now like to hand you over to Linnea to start us off. Linnea, welcome. Great to have you along here today, calling in directly from America. I believe I heard you're at the Printing United show in Las Vegas to accept the coveted 2022 Pinnacle Product Award for Software. So congratulations, and over to you.
Hi, good day, everybody, and thank you so much, John. I appreciate the warm welcome and introduction. And yes, I am live from Las Vegas in Nevada, and we are thrilled to say, yes, we did win the Pinnacle Award for our introduction and integration of Ricoh Process Director with Ricoh Supervisor. Very proud to say that we won that award, and for that integration, which does deliver more visibility of data for shop floor automation and operation. So please check out that. So as far as the print ecosystem, I'm definitely thrilled to be able to be introducing what this means to everybody and the importance of the ecosystem, and breaking it down into something that's more understandable, because everybody understands that workflow in the ecosystem is a very complex environment and very difficult to understand, and it is unique to everybody. It is not one size fit all. So that is why, if we go to the next slide, you'll see the complexity that we've been able to really, the cost that's involved, first off, with the ecosystem. And then as we talk more today, you'll understand how we're breaking it down to something that's more digestible and understandable, with the importance of the hands-off between the workflow. And that's what this diagram here shows, is the importance of integration and handing off between the different workflow steps. So as we talk about the expense also involved versus the efficiency of workflow, it's about the smooth hands-off from one workflow step to the next step, in order to propel your business forward. So the cost involved with workflow is really important. There was a recent workflow study, and if you don't mind forwarding to the next slide, I'll discuss that.
Hi, Linnea, this is Thomas. We currently have a little technical glitch. We try to bring that slide up, so just give us a second.
Oh, no worry, and I easily can keep talking because I love workflow and the importance of it. So while we're waiting for that to happen, with workflow is one of the important statistics that they'll over and click over to just briefly, is around the cost. So typically there's €1 spent for the print in workflow in €1, and usually there's €3 spent for print processes. So with that comparison, 1 versus €3, the difference there is on the efficiency side of things. Is if you don't have automated workflows, what happens in that difference is the difference with automation is you could be spending a lot more time in, for example, manual touch points. You could be doing rework on files. If it is not done, and here's an example of it, if it is not done in a succinct, efficient way. So it's very important to consider your workflow, and often we'll say walking your workflow to make sure you're doing it in the right way. So when I mentioned earlier about the print ecosystem, what we've done in this series, and you'll hear more about in future ones, is we've made it more simple to understand with 5 stages. And you'll see them here is input, manage, prepare, produce, and output. And within each one, there's individual functions and requirements. And again, every shop is going to be different. Whether you're an in-plant, for example, and we've done metaphors for them. For example, with in-plant or CRDs, you might have a running kind of metaphor versus PSPs or commercial printers, more of a plain metaphor, as you see here. And we'll talk more about what that entails. For example, getting ready to take flight. We'll get into it, but for further details, please visit ricosoftware.com to find out more as we dig into the workflow stages. But we'll leave that for later. For now, I'm going to pass it over to Ralph.
Hello, everybody. So thanks for listening in, and thanks for inviting me to this webinar. I've been in the printing industry for more than 30 years, and I started out in R&D and press design. And over the years, I learned that, well, the really important thing is the workflow. So that is what's setting companies apart in the same markets, using the same presses, but using different workflows. And the ones are being efficient, the ones are growing, the ones are profitable, and some others are not. So You might ask, why are we talking about workflow again? And you probably heard about things like Industry 4.0. It's actually a trend affecting all businesses. Connecting systems, streamlining processes, using data to improve processes, to improve efficiency. Around the world, it's called Industry 4.0. In the print industry, we call it workflow traditionally. And I would say that at some point, the printing industry really was ahead of the curve by introducing JDF, JMF. However, we learned that both did not live up to the expectations in data automation and everything. So now it's more the case that the printing industry is behind other industries, and we need to step up the efforts here. So in the next chart, I would like to show you some data on the progress which is already being made. That's Germany, print revenues and employment since 1991. And obviously, the revenue declined over the years, last 2 years even affected by Corona, but employment, that declined even much faster. You can also see the numbers then here. And a sign of the automation in the past has been that declining curve in employment. And at the same time, driving up productivity per employee a lot. That's a staggering 40%. And that really makes a difference for the companies. So have we seen the end of the automation yet? I don't believe so. So on the next slide, there will be some more data showing how the personnel costs compare to the production value. Printing industry versus all manufacturing. And the share in the printing industry is still a lot higher. So I firmly believe there is more potential to automate, to streamline processes. If you look at personnel versus the total output cost. And don't forget, in the end, personnel is also ever more difficult to get. So there is an additional incentive to streamline the processes in that respect. Keypoint Intelligence, they made a research recently into workflow issues, and we're going to see sort of the 8 top issues they questioned here in that survey. I don't want to go into all detail. It's a lot of detail here. So for example, the high number of small jobs is frequently an issue for commercial printers, specialized PSPs. In-plant, in-house printers, they're more looking into fulfillment or in supplies management. So I would say one major takeaway is there is not a single bottleneck. There are lots of different issues which should be improved, can be improved in workflow. And I also believe that these focus areas are going to change over time, because there's new technology coming in, enabling different things, but also the customer requirements are changing. So there will always be some bottlenecks. They're only going to shift. But you can tackle these bottlenecks. So on the next slide, there is some time studies which have been done before. If you want to print a lot more short-run jobs, you obviously need to be very efficient in processing, bring them to the printer. If it takes 1 hour to prepare a job and you print it 10 minutes, that company is probably not making money. If you bring it down to 3 minutes, and I've seen that in reality at a couple of online printing companies, from file submission to print ready file in 3 minutes, then that enables really short run production. And the potentials obviously are huge if you save that much time, if you save that much manual work. That is what sets a profitable company apart from the one who is struggling at the moment. But it's not only talking about the time and the process costs here. So when talking about workflow, I frequently find that the discussion is on efficiency and cost focused mainly. So on the next slide there, you can see there are different levels to achieve in the workflow efficiency, from automating single process steps. Most companies are there today already, to connecting all internal steps in the company, making them as efficient as possible. And the next step would even be connecting into document owners, print buyers, and end user sites for print products to make the whole document flow more efficient, not only in your company, but the whole document flow. There's still a lot of a lot of efficiency gains to be made. Remember these $3 spent in processes for $1 spent in print. But there is another dimension as well. So it's not only cost, it's also about improving services in workflow. If you reduce the throughput time, you save cost, but you also delight the customers. He's getting the product faster. The same is for online proofing, online job tracking, making last minute changes, and so on. So there are a lot of things which give the customer an additional benefit, which makes your customer happy, which might help finding new customers, which can increase the print volume, which can also increase the revenue per print job. So there is a lot of benefit. Workflow is not just about savings, it's also about revenue. Now I talked a lot about technology, but workflow is not only about technology. My colleague Gert will also talk about the human element, which is very important as well. So I would like to hand over to Gert now.
Thank you, Ralph. From what I hear you say, it seems like it's definitely not easy choosing the great workflow. Many technical things to consider, many areas that require attention. I've heard business owners on occasion comparing changing a workflow to open heart surgery. So, because a workflow is or will become the core of your business, implementing it and implementing it well is equally important. So understanding and managing different objectives consciously during that implementation, I believe is the key to success. Keeping the business running during implementation is probably the biggest concern of a business owner, while automating processes often scares, I'm sorry to say so, the living daylight out of an employee. Why does it have to change? Everything was working fine. Where does this come from? Failing to address that might even create internal opposition. So is the human element crucial in implementation? I believe so. I think it's safe to say that the success of your implementation is in proportion to the time spent on change management. And that's what I'm trying to illustrate here with this graph. So the more you explain what you're doing to everyone, explain the bigger picture, the higher your success rate will be. Explaining the why of a change is equally important as explaining the how. And sometimes involving the help of a neutral external party to handle the project management of that one can make it easy or easier, and can sometimes be enough to get you going. So if you want to read more about this topic, if you want to get more background information, I can highly recommend these two books. So the first one, Our Iceberg is Melting, by John Kotter and Holger Ratgeber. Funny, Ratgeber is a German term for advisor. It's quite quite compelling with this book. So the book is about a colony of penguins that are preparing to move to a new home. And the book makes the concept of corporate strategy very relatable and easy to understand. So contained within that story and within the characters, there's the powerful message about the fear of change. Human beings don't like change. It's within our DNA. We reject it. So that message also explains you how you can motivate people to face the future and take action. And it's not just reading, it actually breaks the transition into separate steps and making you providing you an entertaining and actionable guide that will help you manage the change. And you can see by the illustration, the book has definitely a good sense of humor in it. And then the next one, another classic, is Start with Why by Simon Sinek. And in his book, he explains through the concept of the golden circle, which is a framework that can be used to build organizations, lead and inspire people, all starting with why. Why do we do the things we do? Definitely, I recommend this one highly if you want to get going and feel motivated to make a change. And I recently checked, both are still available via Amazon.
Thank you, Geert and Ralph. Fascinating stuff. And I think it very nicely sets us up for the panel discussion. This is, I think, where the event really takes off. I'm going to ask a workflow related question that we think is probably very much a live issue for many of you. I'm going to ask that question to each of the panelists so they all get a chance to share their views. So it should be interesting. And we're going to put up on screen each of the questions so that you can see what it is we're asking. So let's start with the first question. So if we can get that up on the screen so everyone can see it, while the panel prepare themselves. Here it comes. And the first question is, how can efficiency lead to more profitability? And I'm going to ask Ralph to lead off with this one, if I can, please. Ralph, over to you.
Yes, I mean, of course, in the end, it's the key questions. Unfortunately, there is not a single answer because printing companies vary greatly in their requirements, in their status, in their customers. So it's very important to first assess your status in the market. So, and then you can really reduce labor, you can reduce mistakes, and in the end, you have that great potential to reduce cost. I find that many companies are already very efficient in equipment they're using. But it does not help if you lose money in pre-press, in talking to the customers, in finishing, in sending it out. Or even worse, you're efficient on press, but you're printing the wrong things, or you're mixing it up in the finishing. So the workflow really is paramount. And remember the €3 spent in processes versus €1 in production. And I've seen online printing companies, they are very cost efficient. They're tackling these problems, and that's the reason why they are offering so low prices. But it can be in all different kinds of environments. I recently spoke to a head of an implant in Germany. That really impressed me. Was governmental implant. They introduced web to print and a fully automated workflow just before the pandemic hit. And then everybody had to work from home, but you still could order printed products because it was all in a web to print interface, easy access, ordering from home, job tracking. Everybody was happy and they kept on ordering. And they could even, the print shop manager could even add new products like health and safety instructions, keep distance stickers and all that. So in the end, the implant produced more volume, but they also reduced the costs because they had less staff on site. They could not have that many people working there anyway. So it was very efficient for them. But I mean, there's sure more to add for example.
Yeah, Geert, can we hear what your take is on this one?
Yeah, sure. I strongly believe that efficiency, it will definitely lead to more profitability. And I kind of have a feeling that for a lot of people, increasing efficiency means automation. And often they are scared or worried that it will kill their flexibility. And I have a feeling is because efficiency, people often think with the automation in the print business as we have to automate or standardize our products or the product offering that we have. And I think if you want to increase efficiency, you should rather look at processes and standardize maybe your processes and automate your processes rather than automate your offering. Because definitely in the time we live in right now, you have to stay flexible in your offering and what you're trying to sell to people.
And I'd like to add on to that, Gert, is really along commonalities, because that's where you gain your efficiencies and profitability, especially in processes and workflow automation, is look for what commonalities that you do have in your workflow and look to automate those. I call that low-hanging fruit, because that's where you'll gain the efficiency and the profitability, but then keep those uniqueness and those opportunities to differentiate your business, and you want to be able to diversify your revenue. So I think that's important to keep open to keep that differentiation piece of your business to move forward with. Jürgen, I know you wanted to jump in and add to the conversation.
Yeah, well, I don't want to disagree with some points, but I would to respond to have your example with online printer. And the way their efficiency goes via standardization, but they are selling standardized applications, more or less, and what is working for them is not really necessarily transferable to others, like a smaller commercial printer who lives from his closest to his customers and his flexibility. So as I said, it's as from my point of view, there's no single answer for that. Because not one fits all. But from what I see, and I think what applies as far as efficiency is concerned, and it applies for a family-owned company as well as for a print center, as well maybe for a customer communication management provider, is that the need for efficiency is nowadays more pressing than ever before. Because why do I say that? Because we all see the energy prices are rising incredibly. Paper has become expensive, even more difficult. It's hard to get, and the same goes for well-trained staff. So I think even if customers haven't considered to look on more efficiency automation, now the pressure of the market and of the environmental conditions is on us.
Okay, Jürgen, thank you, and thanks everyone. Let's move on to the second question, which I think follows on quite nicely, because we heard quite a lot about automation in the answer. And this question is very much about automation. So if you can automate it, right or wrong? That's the question. And I think, Geert, I think it'd be nice to hear from you first on this one.
Well, I wish I could immediately say yes or no. It's right, wrong. Spontaneously, deep down inside, I would say yes, yes, yes. But it highly depends on I believe, how much your organization is ready for automation. And by that, I mean, it often comes down to how prepared are you to handle mistakes or failures when something goes wrong. How ready is your organization to overcome that and to take action? Quite often that is the weak link in the processes. Because if you automate everything and it goes wrong, well, it can go wrong really, really bad. Whereas if you handle it manually, people could immediately interact. So, oh, stop the machine, or stop this file from going to preflight or ripping or going to plate. If you automate it, I think if you can, yes, do it, but make sure you also define your fallback scenarios when you create your automation. So add some pause possibilities in it so that it's easier to intervene if something goes wrong. But gut feeling, yes.
Okay, and Ralph, how do you respond to that?
Yes, well, in general, I do agree. And as almost always in life, the 80-20 rule applies. So with 20% of the effort, you can also already get 80% of the results. And optimizing the last bits, that is 80% of your costs. So for the last 20% of efficiency gains. So it's really important to look at these cost efficiency ratios. And I would really recommend, of course, you have to have an internal look at your processes, but also to get an outside expert, and he can probably tell you where you're good at, where you can improve, and how much effort it is to improve, and then probably also define KPIs on which to improve. So it does not need to be a complicated assessment. Sometimes it's only a checklist, but actually that expert can really tell you where that the low-hanging fruit is.
Yeah.
And it also,
Oh, sorry. Go.
no, it's also important to look at not only at the company as a whole, but look at different processes, maybe different customers. Sometimes it makes sense to standardize processes, like for a simple product, flyers, business cards, but not so for a complicated product. And I've also seen that companies standardize on types of customers. So they have some web customers with easy products and everything is fully automated. And even and then some other customers, big customers, they need more hand-holding and there is a lot more manual work. And it's even true for big online printers where you think everything is automated, but sometimes they have parallel workflows depending on the product, depending on the customer.
Yeah.
And Ralph,
Yeah.
speaking of automating, a study that we've done recently with a partner is automating onboarding was something that really was something that was the most obvious thing. You mentioned low-hanging fruit, because a lot of the email was one of the most prevalent ways for files to come into a shop. And that was something that was the most prone for error or manual resource use, high level of manual resource use, and also the need for proof and approval processes was a high amount of labor resources to be used for those areas. So those were different areas to consider automation for. So considering looking at where you have bottlenecks in your processes and also a high amount of labor being utilized, those are areas to consider automation for. And Gert, I have to comment on your heart surgery comment for workflow, because it always doesn't have to be to that level. So those are examples where heart surgery is not involved, I must say.
Well, and I'm glad you say that.
Yeah, we can't hear you at the moment.
Okay.
I don't know if we can try and.
Yeah.
I muted him because I didn't want to hear more about heart surgery.
You are back.
No, I'm glad you say that, because a lot of people just wait until they can automate everything, and therefore by default create this gigantic fear of implementing it, and they probably making even bigger than it needs to be. So you don't have to wait until you can automate everything. It's also what Ralph says. Take it step by step, and then let's hope we don't have to go to surgery, right?
And I want to pick on what you mentioned, Linnea, the email example. I think also it's not a research topic only, it's what we see in real life, at least every day at customers. And for me, well, yeah, automation, digitalization, we often use these, I would say, buzzwords. But for me, it's also a look on media breaks, because emails are digital, but the content isn't, and that brought a lot of issues with customers who get that then into their production or production planning process. But it's even more what customer nowadays demanding. I see customers where their customers more and more ask them to connect to the customers' processes, like a customer procurement system. So we see a more and more networking and digitization between our customers and their customers, and at least the process should be right for that. And I think that's all right, that it's right to start. It's the beginning of the process, which means the input part and the customer and job onboarding. For me, that's really the first step for quick wins.
Okay, all right. Well, let's move on to the last question now, which I think is very relevant to what's been discussed already, because it's about change. And the question is, how critical is change management to a successful workflow implementation? and who drives the implementation. I think, Gert, if we can, we'll start with you again on this one. You're on mute still, maybe?
Well, I'm glad to. Given the slides that I've presented earlier, I think everyone understands how I feel about that topic. I'm really passionate about it. I believe it's crucial for success. Having been part of several management teams myself, on occasion I actually found out the hard way. It is crucial that you deal with that topic. Who should lead? There's this tension field always between an employer and his employees, right? The owner of the business wants to keep everything running. Employees just want to keep their job and don't want many things to change. What is definitely crucial is, I believe, is getting a buy-in from senior management. Right? They really need to support it. All of them need to support it, need to stand behind that change because it's going to drive the success in the future. Should they lead because of that one? Maybe not. Sometimes it's just easier to get an external party in there. Get different view on your company, because if you're within it, it's not always easy to assess and evaluate all the processes you have. Somebody from outside can often immediately spot, like Ralph says, those, and Linnea, those low hanging fruits, the 80%, and go for that one. Someone external, with the help of someone internally, a subject matter expert, right? Get somebody that is trusted within the company to support that project manager, the project lead that you assign to that one. Have regular follow-ups with reporting on the status, on the roadblocks, on the accomplishments as well. And don't forget to celebrate the accomplishments during the process. And then if you do that, I strongly believe you will be able to finish the implementation, very crucial, and that you can keep people motivated during that transition.
Can I add to that? And I just needed to stop myself because I wanted to say yes, and we can support on that. What I think is, yes, change management is important, but it also depends on the complexity. And what we see when it comes to a point that several departments are affected, at least at that step, you have to really take care on a project management part to bring also the different departments of a customer together, because often we think they often exactly know from the other what they are doing, but from time to time it's not the case. Well, that's the same with us, I would say, to be open. And what I think is that I have for me 2 examples. When you, for example, take a color management project or solution, what we more and more see in the often to digital environments, that customers try to link digital printing devices with color management to offset for hybrid products. It also has some complexity, but you can't compare that, for example, with I would say with a project where you have from job estimation up to production planning, stock management up to billing, at least a whole company involved. There, at least you have a very high complexity. And to be honest, I think there are already projects in the market which never went live, and not as the software couldn't deliver that. At least it was lack of project management and senior management sponsoring on that. And the worst thing you can do is that at least at the end of the day, two systems in parallel running, because then you will never change it. Yeah.
No, it's a great point. Oh, thanks, Bob. I just wanted to mention that as far as senior management buy-in and all of that side of it, I think it's important as part of the planning process. Someone had mentioned earlier is getting the assistance of a consultant. I think it's having that outside viewpoint, an unbiased viewpoint, is really critical to the whole process, because sometimes you end up being very comfortable with what's in place already there. So getting that unbiased perspective to come in and help analyze what's happening within the production workflow and within the shop, just overall, holistically. And then I always say walking the workflow, somebody had imparted that on me, is assessing what's happening and where the gaps are. And again, it doesn't have to be an end-to-end solution, but seeing what efficiencies can be gained is looking for a partner, not just a vendor, a partner, to really see, moving forward a strategy. And Rico, I'm going to do a little plug here, has an EDGE program, a business development program that can really help move a business forward. It's not just about hardware, but software and services to really help assess where do you want to go moving and help with change management. So just really tying it all together. So I had to add that in before I let you speak, Ralph. Sorry about that.
No worries. No, I just wanted to add a little remark, because I think that the right people at the right time in a workflow project is extremely important. What I see as the biggest challenge in the printing industry is hiring the right people, and especially the right IT people. So you can't get those. Thank God, a workflow in implementation is usually a project, so it is a timely limited, so it makes sense to get outside expertise. You need some expertise also inside, and you need to build it up in the company as well. So, but the bulk of the work you can get in. But then you also need that learning experience. And I think also here a project manager can help in making that more of a learning experience with a little bit of fun. So it's sometimes amazing how much a company, its employees learn about themselves and about the company if they're doing a workflow assessment and implementation.
Thank you, Ralph, for concluding that. I think we'd all agree there's some fascinating points. There was some consensus that emerged there, but that's not a bad thing at all. It's a complex area, so it's good to know that people agree, but not completely. There were one or two areas where not everyone saw entirely eye to eye, so I think that's healthy as well. What I'm going to do now is ask Ralph to draw some of the threads of the panel discussion together and give us a quick summary.
Yes, and I would say that we all agree that automation is extremely important. It does save cost. It really improves the viability of a company. It delights customers. Getting there is not always easy, so it usually requires getting some outside expertise in finding the low-hanging fruits, the best areas, but also the internal view is extremely important, knowing what to do, getting the buy-in from the top management to drive the project forward, but also talking to everybody in the company, which are important for the process steps, and getting also their buy-in, because in the end, it might be a project, the implementation, where you get some outside help, but it needs to run inside the company in the end as well.
Thank you very much, and much appreciated. I think you brought us back to earth safely after that exhilarating flight. So thanks again. I'm now going to turn to Neil McKinstry. Now, Neil, as you can see, is software product manager within the graphic communications team, and Neil's going to walk us through an infographic that shows how Rico solutions support the 5 production stages. So over to you, Neil.
Thank you, John. So when we look at the end-to-end document production process, we can see that it can be complicated. And although every customer is unique, many face common or similar challenges. As Ralph mentioned earlier, the increasing complexity of diverse workflows, shorter run lengths and tighter deadlines all mean that maximizing efficiency and automation are vital to success. By bringing together existing processes, both commercial and in-house, in a single framework, it can become easier to manage. You can create standardized, repeatable processes for each type of work. You have a single end-to-end audit trail, regardless of the data type or production requirements. And you can track every job or order through a single user interface from arrival to completion. So let's look at each step in turn, starting with input. So maximizing the automation at the input stage is key to increasing efficiency and automation throughout the rest of the process. Whether the work is coming from a web to print portal, an asset management solution, legacy systems, or other sources, Rico has solutions to easily integrate those systems, automatically identify the type of work received, the production steps required, and then track it through the entire production process. So then, as we move on to manage, next slide, please. Streamlined API-based integrations connect Rico solutions and your MIS system to enable two-way communication between the business and production management layers of your print environment. Your MIS system provides the job ticket and processing requirements to the Rico solutions, which in turn provide real-time status and milestone updates back to the MIS as each component of the order progresses through production. Variable data templating solutions like Fusion Pro and similar offerings can be seamlessly integrated into the production workflow, where the design template is managed and automatically assigned at the time of production. So this leads us to prepare. So ensuring data is properly prepared for production can prevent time-consuming and costly delays further down the process. With Rico's TotalFlow suite of software and our advanced workflow and output solutions, preparing jobs for production is easily automated. Whether that is performing pre-press tasks using TotalFlow Prep, or managing pre-flight and position through tight integrations with partner solutions like InFocus Pitstop or Ultimate InfoStrip, Rico has a range of flexible solutions to meet your requirements. So let's see how we might want to produce that work. So do you want to intelligently batch and aggregate orders to maximize the efficiency of the print or finishing processes, and then automatically direct those production batches to the most suitable device? Using a solution like TotalFlow Batch Builder can automate all of this and more. If you need to generate output for a customer across different printer types, Rico has color management solutions that work across all technologies to produce predictable results with device-to-device matching. Do you need to generate complex output for more than just print? Rico partners with leading composition vendors to seamlessly integrate their solutions, allowing print and other output channels to be managed and tracked in exactly the same way. So this leads us to managing the output part of the process. So a solution like TotalFlow Production Manager provides easy-to-use tools to efficiently manage a sheet-fed production operation, a simple web-based user interface, a drag-and-drop workflow builder to quickly create a production process, and full job-level tracking. If your requirements are more complex, Rico Process Director is our flagship workflow management framework. Like Production Manager, it has a simple web-based user interface, but it brings additional benefits to support critical communications and multi-part production where an order is made up of many pieces. Process Director adds the ability to track work at the item or document level. Pieces of a multi-part order can follow different paths through the workflow to be reunited after print or finishing, and reprints and remakes can be automated. Full closed-loop reconciliation can track every item right through to the point of dispatch, guaranteeing that every piece is complete before a job or order is closed down. So let's look back at the end-to-end process. Sitting over the whole process, we have Rico Supervisor, providing real-time dashboards and a powerful business intelligence engine. This solution enables deeper insights into your production data, both hardware and software, allowing you to make more informed business decisions. The production process from data receipt through to output and dispatch can be both complex and complicated, but operating and managing it doesn't have to be. Working with you, Rico has the solutions and expertise to help you improve efficiencies, maximize automation, and help unravel your print workflow. I will now hand over to Jürgen, who will give you a short overview of the Rico Edge offering and how that can also help your business. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil, for this condensed portfolio overview from input to output. And in the following, as John mentioned, in the following webinars, we will have the opportunity to go deeper into the individual phases. We talked about unravel and automate your workflow, and this by itself is hugely rewarding. But to take the full advantage, this should ideally be part of a wider strategic process, which is where Rico's Edge business development consultancy comes in. Edge has been designed to support clients who are looking to exploit business opportunities, whether these are reviewing production efficiencies or building new value offerings. And the following video will give you a short insight into our Edge consulting.
Can we hear from Jürgen here?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I was on mute. Thanks for the comment.
Okay.
Yeah, the summary, the brief summary here from left to right. At the latest, since the procurement prices for energy and paper have risen, I mentioned that in the panel discussion, and access to labor is becoming really increasingly difficult. The pressure for automation is becoming stronger and stronger. Use the expertise and the experience of our consultants, for example, in needs analysis. Second part, modern solutions like e-commerce platforms, for example, can help you. One, extract new customers. Second, to do more with existing customers. And at the same time, these solutions provide you technology to automate processes for standardized, repeatable orders. And our edge consulting concept can also support you in further future-proofing your company. Ralph mentioned Industry 4.0, but as he said, it's not perfectly implemented yet. However, solutions offers often very good possibilities to integrate it into your existing environment via interfaces. So quick wins can be possible without complex change management at one point. And last but not least, don't make decisions based on feelings. Data collection and visualization tools can also provide you with important decision-making aids. And now, John, finally, I hand over to you.
Yes, thank you. So all it remains for me to say is thank you to you, Jürgen, and all our presenters and panelists. And for you, our audience, please make sure you reserve your seat for our next webinar. It takes place on November the 17th. And this time it's going to focus on those three critical early stages of the workflow process, namely input, manage, and prepare. And if you go to the registration landing page, you can see the address, then you will be able to register for that event. We have put together 2 ecosystem ebooks, and we will be adding those to that registration page within the next few days. One of those is designed specifically for the needs of the print service provider, and one is for the print room. So thank you very much, everybody. I will let you return to the rest of your day.